We are back at it again here with another video with Invest for Tomorrow. To all the first time viewers and investors, welcome to the channel. To all the subscribers, welcome back. All I ask for in return is for you to smash that like button to let me know you watch this video. Helps out the YouTube channel and lets me know you appreciate the time and effort I put into making these videos. So here we are with Wish Stock, ContextLogic Inc. Now Wish Stock has actually been in a downtrend, right? It got hit hard at the earnings and it's gotten hit hard every single earnings all year. And then it actually on the second earnings ran up a couple days later, right? A few weeks later. We're going to break all this down together here. But before we look at it, I want to share with you guys the spectacular home run that I mentioned this morning over at the Discord. And if that's something that interests you, check out the link down below in the description. And we're going to get right into it here with Wish Stock and everything about it moving forward. The home run of the day was spectacular and it was beyond expectations, guys. Even though the S&P 500 index is fighting to get back up to all-time highs and overall portfolios and markets are sitting sideways or in the red, I have managed to find opportunities daily. We have found home runs all week long so far and we will continue to. And this is something that you can become part of as well if you're interested. Check out the link down below in the description to the Discord, and by joining you'll become part of a growing community of investors all looking to learn and grow together. So I mentioned INDP early on in the morning as well as ABCL. This was our worst performer, giving us 5 to 10% jumps on its bottoms and its spikes. But let's look at the home run of the day because this was knocked out of the ballpark. So INDP, we mentioned it pretty early on in the morning in the pre-market, sitting sideways, and it took off pretty fast in a matter of 30 minutes, almost 100% plus, right? Pulled downwards, sat sideways, and took off to a highest point so far in the day of 170% plus, all the way to its highest point of possibility. If this is something that interests you and you want to become part of, check out the link down below, and we look forward to having you join us. Let's jump into these charts, and this is what we look for daily. Opportunities of 5 to 10%, 10 to 20%, and 20% plus. It's a home run. And this right here was beyond expectations. 8 home runs in one single day. So here we are with Wish, and Wish continues to fight to stay up, but it keeps on going lower, right? I talked about Wish way back here in May before it took off, and it had a nice run of almost 100%, pulled downwards, and I recently talked about it back in August, and it nearly went up a nice 10 to 20% move, and since then it's been going lower. So I'm going to talk in this video to you guys about how I feel about Wish moving forward and something that has to do with short interest, because we've seen Wish squeeze before and it could squeeze again, but one of the main things I'm tracking is short interest. The higher it goes, the more it could justify where the price is going, because the price keeps on going down, right? Also, the uncertainty in the markets, it got hit hard after earnings. But there's two things that I'm noticing here in the charts that are super important to be aware of moving forward. So the first thing is interest here, right? Short interest, 5.83. It's not moving up fast, but it's moving up in a very subtle way. Okay, this was closer to 5%. It has gone up almost 1%. And believe it or not, 1% of the float is 4.6 million shares. So that's a pretty high number. Okay, and 5.83% is nearly almost 6%, a little bit above 5, and that would be about 20 to 25 million shares right now that are short in the total float. And then we have here the average price targets 983, and one of the most recent reiterations is those that happened in August 13th, and they went down a little bit, but they're still pointing to the upside from the current levels. The worst one was JP Morgan, and they stated from 17 to 5. Okay, that's what's really hurting this. And then you got Bank of America bringing it to underperform at $6. And I'm going to show you guys something very interesting about Bank of America in that specific number. Okay, there's some things here. We're going to break it down. We're going to see all the different possibilities for Wish Stock moving forward. So the first thing is, I'm going to be watching the short interest for a possible squeeze again, like the one we saw in June, all the way towards July. And if it's not that to be the case, I'm watching it because the higher it goes, the more it justifies what's going on here. But let's break down what's going on in this chart as well. And then we're going to talk about why Bank of America is very interesting right now where it currently sits, giving that price target of $6, which we're really close to it. Yet I found this to be very, very interesting. Like, we got to look at it together, because that just right there confirms, and it reminds me of a stock that they brought down last year. And we're going to talk about Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan at that time. And they were loading up the boat and the stock flew. I'm not saying that's the same thing with Wish, but I find it interesting. So we're going to break it down. Let's look at this chart. What I want to point out here in the chart is the fact that back when the last earnings, the stock fell from $11 all the way down to $7. Okay, that was nearly $4. And recently it went down from 10 to 6. That's nearly $4. Now, some people are saying because of that such a low price target, right, all the way down to $5 and all the uncertainty in the market, it can test that. And I'm not saying it won't. And if it does, it's creating an opportunity. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But went down $4. So right now, that's what I'm tracking, right? And after going down to those lows, and it hit its first 52-week low back in May and June, it took off, nearly doubling, okay? That's the first thing that happened. It was literally just like that. It painted out like that. And with 42 vision, I had a clear vision here of what's going on in the chart. And then it started to take off and I could see the strength, right? This is based off the 1 day. Currently, right now, it's doing the same thing. So I'm going to be watching this carefully. But if this was to repeat itself, right, it would be this part right here that's missing. And that could be the part that can come in the next several months or weeks, right? That's something to be aware of and something to watch. Now, I'm not saying it's going to take off and double from where it's at, but if it picks up momentum and things start to look a little brighter, which we all know it's going to take till 2022 or the end of it to actually see things ramp up, but the beginning of it doesn't start at 2022. It starts now. You got to think about that as well. A lot of the losses that they're projecting and all the hardships for the company, it's all getting priced in right now. And then the future growth of the company is going to get priced in sometime in the next 6 months, 3 months, or obviously following weeks. Okay, so that is something to also take into consideration. Now, one of the things that's going on here when we go ahead and look at it from the 30-minute is the fact that things are just getting pulled down. And we get that. And we see it way down here. And when you zoom out, the picture is a lot more horrific. But obviously, things are going to take time for this to grow. And a lot of people are comparing this stock to Etsy. I would not go ahead and sit around and compare the two because they have very different floats and things look very different for the companies. But when you actually zoom out and you look at the bigger picture, even though it doesn't do the same run or same thing, it's all possible because it was sitting around here with 4 earnings back in 2015 that were red, all terrible, and it hit lows of $5. Then things started to change, and through 4 more earnings that were red, it was starting to push up, consolidate, and that took 2 years, okay, of effort. And on the 3rd year, it all started to pick up and things started to change. So you could see here, just based off the timeline and how earnings work, how important earnings are for a company. A lot of people overlook that, but it's not like you're supposed to chase the earnings. I'm talking about you want to build into a company that will further grow in the future of earnings. But keep in mind, the market caps and just the float are very different of the two companies, but doesn't take away the potential, right, that Wish has and what Wish can become, okay? But right now it is in a very tough spot, and short interest is not as high as we would want it to be for a squeeze, but we've seen this one squeeze and it could actually get pushed up if that short interest keeps on going higher. That's what I'm monitoring, right? The other thing that we have here that I talked about earlier, which is very interesting, that, you know, JP Morgan and also Goldman Sachs last year, they went ahead and put pressure on a specific stock and they were buying it on the dip. And that stock was NEO. I don't know if you guys remember, but that was last year. They made it go from $14 down to $7, and then after $7 it took off and it never saw those lows again. And here we have it with Bank of America, right? Neutral, underperform, and they brought it from buy to neutral. They brought it down to 12. They brought it down to 6. And now, as they're bringing it down, which is very interesting, they're buying, guys. This is right now in September, right? September 13th, okay? That's not that long ago. And they have a position of an average share price of $14 and some change, and they have nearly almost a million total shares. So Bank of America is sitting here and buying puts for the short term as they're pulling it down, and buying calls for the long term as they're going to pull it back up. I found that very interesting. Then JP Morgan is another one, but they actually are buying calls and puts, and they have a very small position of 390 shares. And I believe they're just holding on to those to track what's going on with it, and then they're going to go in heavier once they actually feel comfortable or they think it's a good opportunity. Because right now, when you see that amount of shares, usually banks or anyone that actually calls it starter shares, they use that to track and keep it right there on their watch list or keep the stock close to see what's going on with it and how it performs. But the main one that's very interesting is the fact that Bank of America is talking about underperform, bringing it down, reiterating lower, levels of analysis price targets, and then they're buying puts to bring it down even lower to ride into that momentum, and then they're buying calls to ride into the momentum on the way up, and they have an average price of $14 and some change, nearly a million total shares. So that's like $14 million, $15 million stake in the company, and who knows how much more they're averaging down. So I found that very interesting, and that is like literally the last company here that is on the list. Like that was literally the last day. And if you think about it, just think about when the 13th was. That was not that far from now. And that's why I think it's so funny, because literally 1 month later, they're going ahead and building positions on both sides of the spectrum, puts and calls, and they're holding positions at a $14.49 average. And they're the ones pulling it down themselves with their analysis price targets. So if they're buying down here, they're buying puts. I'm not sure how far down they think it'll go, but they're trying to maximize on it. And then they're buying calls way out. I mean, that just tells you that they're playing the game on both sides, and they're just maximizing on the opportunity. So Wish stock right now, I'm going to be watching the short ratio, the short float overall, and then also in the charts with 42 vision, it is showing weakness on the 1 day and may continue to go lower, but I'm going to be looking for that transition just like we saw here, but a stronger one, right? We want to see that transition on the 1 day to end up being something like this, right? Going from that extremely oversold area, going back into that momentum of strength and pushing forward with this type of push, okay? Like it did right here from 6 all the way to 7, and how we'll continue to see if this can go ahead and fill in this gap. And the average price targets right now are up in the 9s. So even though this does not short squeeze, right? Let's say the short interest doesn't go high enough, right? From wherever it is right now, whether it goes closer to 6, goes closer to $5.50, $5, and fights within that $5 to $6, $7 range, the price targets are still pointing to the upside. There's just 2 that are very bearish, right? The 2 that are saying sell, and one of them is actually Bank of America while they're buying and actually holding their positions, and the other is the one that did the $5 price target, which you can see right here. That's the worst case scenario. If it gets close to it, falls below it, but the average is $9.81 and the high is still $19, close to $20. And I'm going to go ahead and assume that if this starts to pick up pace and move forward, a lot of those price targets will start to be upgraded. And once they do get upgraded, it's going to create a huge catalyst for Wish stock overall and start picking up momentum. And that's the reversal I'm going to be looking for. And if shorts get caught up in it, it could potentially even create a squeeze effect because those shorts will have to cover. As always, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's make some money.